Hey everybody, it's Chris with 2vets1cause. I'm sitting here with my dog. We're doing a little pre-packing, getting ready for our trip. Got the backpack and the tent set up and some of the gear. But a couple days ago I sat down with my mom and my Aunt Linda and did a little interview with them on the trip. So take a look at it.
Hi, I'm Jamie Stewart. I'm Chris Stewart's mom.
And I'm Linda Laughlin, and as Chris says, his crazy Aunt Linda.
So you guys both know that me and Todd are hitchhiking across from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. Before you found out that there was a cause behind it, what was your reaction? What's your first reaction when you heard?
I thought exciting adventure. I didn't have any qualms about it all. I thought it was a neat thing to think of doing.
And my first thought was, in this day and age, it would be risky. I don't know if you ever heard any of your Uncle Larry's stories, but when he was young, this is back in the 50s and 60s, he hitchhiked down to Florida from Iowa several times. And, it was fine. I think it's a different day and time now. I think there's more risks just with people you might meet up with. There's more crazy people, more people out there, which makes more crazy people out there.
And I'm not concerned.
At all.
Especially with two of you going.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if it was you alone, one single guy going, but two guys,
Yeah.
I don't have any really fears.
So when then later on we were like, okay, we got a cause with this thing. You know what I mean? It's the 2vets1cause, that whole thing. Did that change your perception at all? Probably not yours, but did it change your perception of what we were doing about the safety factor?
It did in a way, yeah. I mean, I first thought it was just an adventure kind of thing, and yeah, probably it did. It would make a difference.
Your perception of it being more risky, do you think that's just a perception, or do you think it is more risky? Do you think it's
I think it is more risky than it was back in the 50s and 60s, definitely. Okay.
And I kind of tend to think not much more risky, it's just that we hear about the risks a lot quicker than we ever did back then. I think things were still going on, but you didn't have social media, you didn't have 24-hour news coverage, which was probably a very good thing. And so those things were happening, but they weren't in your face 24 hours a day. So I think the risks are there. They're always there. There's risks to breathing. And I'm not concerned that it's an increased risk factor.
What do you think is going to be like the most difficult thing what do you think is going to be the most difficult challenge that we're going to face?
Blisters from shoes. I think that's going to be difficult. Make sure you take plenty of water, because you're going across parts of the country that are very arid and long stretches with just nothing, just long stretches. Blisters and being caught. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm 100 miles from somewhere and it is now dark and we wing it from here.
What do you
People trying to run you off the road. Like I say, there's crazies. People are crazy. You're standing along a highway. Now, as you get out west further, it's different. Your eastern seaboard, your traffic is much more, and as you get out west, it's going to be less traffic. But I think there's risk just be on the roadside.
Now, the cause thing, you guys know what the cause is, right?
Explain it a little bit
It's
more.
veterans' mental health.
Okay.
The suicide rate. Why is the suicide rate higher for veterans? It's not just a PTSD thing. It's the whole gamut, like just raising awareness of that. So that being tied into it, we're going on this adventure, so it's going to attract a lot of attention. And then why don't we use this attention to do something good? Right. So what is your thought on the veteran mental health crisis? Or are you even aware of it?
Oh, yeah. And there was just a report yesterday, and don't ask me numbers, but they gave numbers, and it's increasing. I think between 18 and 20-something-year-olds with the veterans, the suicide rate and stuff.
Yeah, and I think when we go to war, we don't think about the consequences, the long-term effects that it has on the generation that we put through a war. And now I've gone through, I've heard about World War II, and I've lived through Vietnam with, that was my generation going through it. I've now lived through what's going on now, and
Yeah.
it's a big cause. It's a flag-waving cause when they're over there fighting. And that dies down when they come back. And I think it's a very sad issue, and anything that can bring attention to a veteran's cause is very important, and I think it will help your trip. I think when people see that, they'll have a perception of you, why you're doing it, why you're taking that risk, and maybe think about a veteran a little bit more than they would have if they hadn't run across you on the road somewhere.
Yeah, and like I say, it's the awareness, and we now, for the first time in the last several years, have brought awareness. When my Uncle Bill came home from World War II, we didn't have a term for it back then. There was no PTSD. Shell shock is what they called it. And the man suffered for years with that. There was no counseling, nothing. You just dealt with it, or didn't, as the case is now. But I think the awareness, but it still has to come to the forefront of all the people in the nation who serve us in all ways. These people, these men, young men and women, deserve to be taken care of.